India versus US, what would you choose?
I think it's apples versus oranges. Right from childhood, I was very passionate about seeing how people make money. So I come from a family which is not into businesses. It's like a family of doctors. But I don't know where to go, what to do. Startup India also was just starting off. Right? So this is a time where everyone wanted to build startups, but they didn't know what and how. So when I moved back from the US in 2015, I was a founder myself, first-time founder. We have built a network across the country. So think of it almost like LinkedIn for startups. I'm an alumni of College of Engineering Usmania being blacklisted because of Telangana split issues. I think in the last 10 years, I've done more than 150 plus guest talks. I teach on this topic called you can just go from another restaurant, pick it up, put your label and deliver it. Even like the posters that you're putting out, like that's like a... India is a very jugadu country. People are like fighting for survival. Just see around. If you find thousands and lakhs of similarly doing companies, then typically there's a lot of people have this question. I keep getting asked this question that do we need a co-founder to start a company? The thing is, you don't need a co-founder to start a company. So if you have to put this whole podcast into one word, let's get started.
Hi friends, welcome back to another show. Today in the show, we have spoken about how to get started if you're planning a startup. What is MVP? What is validation? We have spoken on these topics in depth. This is going to be a masterclass for anybody who's aspiring to start a company, whether you are a working professional, whether you are a student, or already started and in the early stages still figuring out. This is going to be the masterclass. Stay tuned for more. Hi Praveen, welcome to PowerUp with Pradeep.
Hi Pradeep, thank you so much for having me here.
So Praveen, you have a really fascinating story. You started a couple of companies, went to US for your MBA in Babson, then came back to India, again tried attempting your venture, and now you're in the startup education journey. Can you help us understand your complete journey and help us walk through about yourself?
Sure. So I have a pretty interesting story. So I'm just like one of you. So I'm a first generation entrepreneur who didn't know anything when he started.
Okay.
And even worse was we didn't have an ecosystem back then. So there was nothing like the word startup ecosystem, nothing existed. So, but right from childhood, I was very passionate about seeing how people make money.
Okay.
Right, all these small stores that you see, how do they actually make money, the transactions and all.
Right.
So this really fascinated me always to learn more and more about how does business actually work.
Right.
So I come from a family which is not into businesses. It's like a family of doctors.
Oh.
And that is where I started realizing that, oh, I want to learn this area, but I don't know where to go, what to do. Okay. So my journey has been a collection of many mistakes.
Okay.
So I had to try everything, I had to figure out everything. In that journey, in the last 15 to 18 years, I have worked in close to 8 to 10 industries.
Awesome.
I've worked in everything from startups, SMEs, MNCs, mid-sized companies, name it, non-profit.
Oh,
I have experienced everything because I've been living life like a buffet, trying out everything and trying to see how to build a company.
Okay.
So that is where my journey has been, from being a person who has worked in companies to doing non-profits to building my own startups,
right,
to having worked in unicorns and between India, US and public listed companies,
sure,
to now finally building my third venture.
Awesome.
So more than happy to tell you as we go along in the journey.
Yeah. Great. So if you can help us walk through of the companies that you started, right, and briefly, what were you solving and why did you, sort of close it or winded it off?
Got it.
Yeah.
So the first one was called Startup Byte. So it was a social network for startup ecosystem in India.
Sure.
So when I moved back from the US in 2015, I was a founder myself, first-time founder, who was trying to figure out.
Right.
And I had my co-founder Chetan, who was my junior at the B school. So we together were going through a lot of hardships as founders ourselves. And then we realized that it's a very common problem even for other founders, because back in 15, 16, there was not much of ecosystem.
Right.
Startup India also was just starting off.
Okay.
Right. So this is a time where everyone wanted to build startups, but they didn't know what and how.
Okay.
So that was a seed for building the first company for us, which was like Startup Byte.
Sure.
And for the next 3 years, we have built a network across the country. So think of it almost like LinkedIn for startups.
Wow.
Right? So we built the entire tech and we literally did almost startup yatra tours across the country, met every incubator, accelerator. We're trying to get everyone on board.
Right.
So that way we had thousands of founders on the platform that we have built.
Sure.
And 3 years fast forward, we realized something that, we're just building with passion and monetizing it was hard.
Okay.
So whenever we are going to each of these different people and trying to monetize or raise funding,
Right.
the most common feedback we were getting was that, oh, the market size is too small.
Okay.
Or they were saying that, oh, how do you make money on this?
Right.
So we were so much in love with our idea, just like most of the founders,
Yeah.
that we never realized some of these things in the journey. We were always thinking that we'll continue to build and hack the system, and eventually we might find a great solution that works.
Right. Right.
Right. So also being in the US, AngelList and some of these things were like great inspirations for us.
Okay.
Right. So that is the thing on Startup Byte. And eventually we understood 3 years fast forward that whatever they're saying is true, and also it's not conducive in terms of fit to the market.
Okay.
And that is where we pivoted, because one great learning we had in that 3 years of journey was
Sure.
everyone is saying we love your product,
Yeah.
but this is too small. What you
Okay.
are using it for.
Right.
So most of these other organizations in the ecosystem, they were saying that, can you give it to us on a subscription model?
Okay.
That is where my second company, which is called SocialHub.
Okay.
So again, it's the same team, same founders. We pivoted and we are one of the first in India to actually build a community management software at that scale. Right?
Awesome.
So we built out a product where anybody can launch their own social network. Like
Right.
tomorrow morning, you can launch your own social network. So it was on a subscription model.
Okay.
So that is about SocialHub. And eventually we had to, go through that journey, and, COVID happened and a lot of these things happened. Even my co-founder, he was going through some health issues, and eventually it reached a stage where, we couldn't take it forward.
Got
And
it.
that's where I took a break, and I joined Wordsay, which is like the parent of Daily Hunt in
Okay.
2021.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Interesting. Started, closed, then again started, again closed, and went to employment back. Now in helping founders start their own venture. What exactly are you doing right now?
So yeah, I think it's a very interesting journey, because I think what most of them might not know about me is I've not just been a startup founder.
Okay.
I have been teaching. So
Wow.
the last 10 years, I've been teaching on ideation, validation, business models.
Right.
So there are 2-3 things. One is when I was doing the Founders Network, the whole
Sure.
Startup Byte,
Right.
we actually had a chance to see first-hand journeys of thousands of founders in the country, what problems they have, what they are going through.
Right.
And when I started teaching from 2015, I think in the last 10 years, I've done more than 150 plus guest talks. I have taught in B schools like Symbiosis, Mahindra, Flame.
Right.
I teach on this topic called Lean Startups,
Wow.
where it is how do you first test before you build, rather than build and then test, or build and validate.
Interesting.
Right? So this is where, after seeing all these learnings and helping thousands of founders, mentoring so many of them, I realized one common fundamental problem that nobody is addressing. Okay, so what I understood is everyone is following the build and sell model.
Correct.
Now, what is build and sell? Now, that means that I got an idea. I want to build Swiggy, let's say. Now, I just go start building the mobile app.
Sure.
And after that, I try to now sell it to everyone and say, hey, I built Swiggy, please come and join.
Sure.
But now imagine nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Then by that time, 1-2 years are gone. A lot of money is gone. You're in debts, you're in problems, so many things. But how can you do it smarter?
Yeah.
So what I learned is validation doesn't take much time.
Okay.
Execution of building the company takes time.
Correct.
So there is a concept called lean startup methodology in the US,
Right.
which is more around how do you iteratively test ideas, working with your customers. But over there, the concept is more of first sell and then only build.
Okay.
So now in this, what we are trying to do now is we are actually helping founders almost like a friend, where we are trying to build that whole course on validation education,
Okay.
which is not existing today in India.
Right.
And that way people can actually learn all the fundamentals in the right way. And beyond that, we are actually even helping them support on the validation.
Right.
So week on week, they're actually working with us and testing the ideas and seeing progress.
Right.
So we have helped a lot of founders in 3 months to test their ideas and get outcomes. That's
Okay.
what we're up to.
So let's say in fact, one of the startup ideas that I was personally thinking of, right? Building, because I see ONDC in a stage where what UPI was.
Right.
And I spent about 7 years in UPI industry working for 2 companies,
Right.
the largest ones. And that is one of the core reasons why I was having this itch of leaving the job and getting into startup. Eventually, I didn't do that because I had a litmus test before that. But I want to understand if I were to start a ONDC now, right? You spoke of testing it in terms of paying customers, right? Validation of it. How exactly does this work?
So I think acid test for a lot of companies is, will customers pay for it?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So now when you're testing something, I'll give you a nice example.
Sure.
Now imagine there is testing at 2 levels.
Okay.
One is at your value proposition level.
Right.
And the second is at the product level.
Got that.
Right? So at a value proposition level, you actually don't need a product.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. Like let's say, if I say that I'll make your money 10 times.
Sure.
Then instantly, like let's say there's a glow in your face. Okay? That, oh, how is he actually going to do it?
Right.
Now, if there's a glow in face, that means that you actually liked what I'm trying to pitch.
Yeah.
You don't know if I'll take that money and put in real estate, in startups, or in trading. You don't know that.
Yeah.
But this is where we are actually trying to understand whether somebody resonates with the problem, with the potential value proposition or benefit that they're getting.
Got it.
Now, this can be tested without building products.
Okay.
Right? Because end of the day, if something brings a glow on your face, that means that you're actually liking it.
Absolutely.
But imagine if people don't understand that,
Right.
and you directly take a product and put in front of them,
Right.
then they don't even know what the product will do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you, instead of saying that, if you take Swiggy example, and we'll talk about ONDC, now if you're saying that, oh, you're paying a lot of transaction fees for XYZ companies,
Mm-hmm.
instead of that, use this, and now you are equally powerful as a big commerce.
Right.
Right? Now that brings a glow on a small business face.
Sure.
Now that is when they might say that, okay, looks like this is actually going to power me better.
Okay.
And that is where it is. Or if a Swiggy comes and says that, I'll just get your food in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now imagine it takes you 1 hour to go and get it.
Right.
Now this is the glow that comes in your face, right? So for actually knowing that people love this solution, we can do validation.
Okay.
And if you say that people are repeatedly going for it,
Mm-hmm.
then you go and build the product. And
Yeah.
even over there are stages. I'm very happy to talk about each of these, or we'll take an example and happy to break it down for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which people have.
Since you spoke about Swiggy, Praveen, why don't you take the same example and break it down further?
Sure, absolutely. So now when you take Swiggy, now imagine I'm a corporate employee sitting in my company.
Right.
I want to start Swiggy.
Right.
But, let's say you're a smart founder.
Yeah.
So you'll not go and jump into the well or go leave everything, your job, and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of that, how can we do it smarter?
Sure.
Now imagine I just make a poster
Yeah.
and I just send it in one of the MNC office.
Right.
Let's say 1,000 printouts,
Yeah.
saying that we are launching a new cloud kitchen.
Yeah.
And in this cloud kitchen, you can come and order anything, or
Right.
just make us a call or give us a WhatsApp.
Right.
Now, that is where what you're doing is you're actually validating something at a value proposition level.
Right.
Now, imagine that poster has 2-3 different statements. Let's say
Right.
500 posters have this, get your food in 30 minutes.
Okay.
And 500 posters say that, get 50% discount.
Yeah.
Now, will you get more calls from this poster or this poster?
Right.
This also exactly tells what people want.
Oh.
Now, here we didn't build an app.
Yeah.
It is just a WhatsApp number or a phone number you gave.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Now, this is like one level of value proposition validation.
Correct.
Now, let's say you're getting a lot of calls.
Mm-hmm.
If you're now getting a lot of calls, that means that for 50% discount, a lot of people are interested in coming to you.
Right.
Now, instead of again going and building an app,
Mm-hmm.
this time around, you can do it smarter, where you are actually saying that I'll be the call center for now.
Right.
He has given me an order.
Right.
I'll go deliver the order.
Got it.
But here again, you don't have a cloud kitchen.
Yeah.
You can just go from another restaurant, pick it up, put your label,
Right.
and deliver it.
Nice.
So here you're hacking the entire system. How much time does it take? 1 day, right? And after this, still you don't have to build the app. You can actually continue trying to nail the system, saying that you are the delivery boy for now.
Right.
Then you might get delivery boys. And in this, you can actually, just in a 3-kilometer radius, maybe you'll get 1,000 orders in the next 1 week. and you can test it out, right? And if all this works, then you go put money.
1,000
in
orders
building
is a
this
big
business.
number, and with that I can go to any VC is what I believe.
I mean, even if you get 100 orders, who is stopping you? You're making money before you waste money, right?
Correct, yeah.
Now
yeah.
imagine you didn't get any calls.
Right.
Okay. This was the amazing case. Now
Yeah.
let's talk about the worst case scenario. Let's say you didn't get any calls.
Yeah.
If you didn't get any calls, that means that even whatever lines you wrote, people are not syncing up with it.
Right.
Maybe they think they don't know you. Maybe you're not a brand. What is that friction?
Yeah.
Because even when you launch your company with your logo with an app, if they still don't know, the same friction will exist.
Got it.
Now, when they know it, let's say you're only selling Chinese.
Yeah.
I'll put 500 posters of Chinese, 500 posters of healthy food.
Right.
Again, I'll see which menu is working, which cuisine is working.
Right.
Can you see how many times I'm iteratively testing?
Yeah.
Where I'm, cutting off every single thing.
Right.
So the whole concept of what we are trying to do is de-risking at every level.
Got it.
So the beauty is in 2 to 3 months, we have proven it again and again.
Yeah.
That in 2 to 3 months, you can actually validate your value proposition beautifully.
Right.
Understand who your customer segment is.
Right.
And only after that, please go put money.
Understood. Yeah. In fact, with this, I was reading one of the case studies, in fact, on how Zomato started. Now they have changed their name to Eternal, but otherwise, Deepinder, when he started, he was working with this company, and he initially, they have this team lunches and all. So he, within the internal portal, he got this menu card and he placed it in one of the internal, portal that they have. And he realized that too many people who are logging into it, and his IT guy called him saying, Deepinder, what did you do? IT systems are not able to handle the traffic onto that page.
Right.
And so that kind of became a litmus test for him, saying, if I'm able to curate the menu, the people who want to come onto the platform and see it. So that's how the whole Zomato started, with a menu as a platform, right?
So absolutely. So Zomato started with just scanning menus.
Correct.
And putting it out. So
Yeah.
all these are called something called MVPs, minimum viable products.
Okay.
So a lot of people think MVP means I should have a product. You don't even need to have a product. So even
Is it so?
Yeah, even like the posters that you're putting out, like that's like a first level MVP that you're trying to validate.
Ah.
And MVPs actually, first all we are trying to do is very simple, Pradeep. Like what we are trying to do is, now imagine you have only 10,000 rupees in your bank.
Right.
How do you smartly test? And for that, there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Now MVP, typically the way it is defined in the official terms is what is the most smallest version of your product.
Right.
Or functionality that you can show people that this is what I want to give you an experience.
Got it.
Now here, what all missing pieces are there? Like for example, you don't have delivery boys.
Right.
You are the delivery boy.
Correct.
Somebody wants to just get food.
Yeah.
They don't care if you're giving through an app, through this or anything.
Right.
I can even send them on WhatsApp 5 scanned menus.
Yeah.
And say pick from any of these 5 hotels. I'll deliver food for you.
Got it.
Now what we are trying to do is, a lot of people think features.
Right.
But we are asking, what problem are we solving for the customer?
Absolutely.
Now once Zomato guys as well understood that, they started building that into features.
Got it.
And even now, it's a never-ending process, by the way. Let's not talk about this. Every company does a lot of iterative testing.
Yeah.
Because now they have launched Instamart, they have launched Minis, right?
Right.
Zomato has acquired Blinkit and they're trying to see where it fits.
Right.
So a lot of these things are happening.
Yeah.
And it's a continuous iteration process. So what you see is a lot of things only that are launched.
Correct.
What you don't see in unicorns is a lot of things that never came to the market. Okay? There
Correct.
are many things that actually iteratively are tested and shut down.
Right.
Like Swiggy has Swiggy Labs for that matter. So this way, experimentation is a lot deeper than anybody has thought, lot common than anybody has thought. In fact, even cooking you have learned with experimentation.
Right.
Cycling you have learned with experimentation.
Right.
So it's a part of our life. For starters, we just don't embrace it.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I can share one other example from my experience, right? I have largely worked with startups across, and I joined PhonePe when it was not known well in the market. And again, what I'm trying to share is an example of product which didn't come to light, or rather came to light for a smaller market. Not the whole market knows about that product as existed with PhonePe, right? We had calculator back then, right? So what you see, a QR on the facing of the customer. Even before that, there was a calculator. So we tried giving that calculator to the merchant, where merchant can type in and customer can pay it basis the calculator itself, right? But it didn't go through. We tried pushing it. We tried pushing it harder, but then it didn't work. And within a period of 1 or 2 months, company took a call of not the right product.
True.
So one very good example of things that don't come to light. They still came to light to a smaller market.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's the beauty of it. If you take any FMCG products as well,
Right.
I don't know if you know, but they are first tested in smaller pockets
Right.
with more conservative markets
Right.
before they're launched across the country. So
Yeah.
it's a very common behavior across all the companies.
Got it.
In startups, we love ourselves so much, we love our idea so much that we just skip the validation and say that I'm the most awesome founder. I'll go build it and it'll become a unicorn.
Right. So tell me, given that you help founders and test the product, MVP, all of that, right? When do, as a founder, when do I know that this is the right time that I go ahead and switch the gears on the product side of it?
So I think validation actually covers some of that. So typically, so a lot of people actually think this way, Pradeep. A lot of them think that there comes a nice day or a good day where suddenly I know all the answers and suddenly it works, right? But I mean, in this podcast, I genuinely want to be super honest with you, super unfiltered with you, because I really want to bring out what is the reality. I don't want a lot of them to just believe and come jump in, right?
That's the whole intent of this podcast.
No, absolutely. That is why the thing is, it's a journey.
Right.
Now, when can I tell you that you have learned cycling extremely well?
Mm-hmm.
That's a journey that you'll figure out over a period of time. So coming back to your question, what happens is whenever you're testing, you have to go through a bunch of levels. First is more of ideas.
Right.
And narrowing down the ideas.
Right.
After you narrow down the ideas, you try to figure out what is the customer problem.
Yeah.
Who is the customer? What is the problem they have?
Right.
Again, we validate at that level.
Right.
After you validate at that level, we validate even the solutions.
Right.
Because a lot of them, when they say idea, they think there's only one solution.
Yeah.
But it's never a one solution.
Right.
It'll be evolved based on the customer and the problem and the whole journey.
Right.
Right? When they have this, now they have like value proposition level validation. Like I said that, I'll make 100x of your money.
Yeah.
Then you feel that, oh wow, this looks a bit cool. Now tell me, how can you make 100x of my money?
Got it.
Now at this point of time, people start getting into the product.
Yeah.
Where they say that, okay, now let's say you're saying that I'm building a small algorithm which will tell you where to invest.
Got it.
But even in that, initially we can do a lot of manual stuff. Like, for the example of Swiggy we took.
Yeah.
The first iteration could have been just scanning of menus and putting it.
Yeah.
If it's Uber, first iteration of app could have been just putting the from point and end point without even payments, without even maps, nothing.
Right.
So these are called MVPs. So for that, I think anybody without validating the value proposition should not start jumping into the product. That's my honest submission.
Understood. Now, let's say you now have the MVP in hand, right? What are the next steps? How do I go about from here, right? I know my product is good enough. Of the 3 options that I thought, one of it is hitting hard, that there is need of it and people are asking for it. Now, from here, how do I go about?
So I think that's a great question, actually. So typically, as founders, we love every feature.
Yeah.
We love everything because we think everything is important.
Right.
So one of the nice hack on first principle thinking that we can apply is really understand that what problem are you trying to solve?
Right.
Always have a North Star, because as long as you're building it for yourself or investors, you're never solving a customer's problem. Because when you see from a customer end,
right,
all they care about is somebody getting food to me faster?
Right.
Is somebody taking me to some other place faster?
Right.
So when you look at companies at a broad level, they fall into 3-4 categories. Are you saving money for them?
Sure.
Are you making money for them?
Yeah.
Right? Or are you giving an experience or something?
Right.
So what is happening here is you're actually trying to see what is that value that you're offering somebody.
Right.
So coming back to even our question, what we are trying to do is really understand what is that you're delivering, and you have to ask yourself the same question, saying that if I build this feature, will that help that?
Right.
Like I'll probably give a simpler example. Let's say you want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have to ask, if I eat junk food, will I lose weight? If the answer is no, don't do it. If running every day morning will help you lose weight, if the answer is yes, do it.
Right.
So even for your features, if you start just putting the simple framework,
Right.
saying that this is what I want to achieve, will doing this help or not?
Okay.
Automatically you'll be able to prioritize.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So there's this point of founder market fit
Right.
and product market fit.
Right.
How important are these two?
Oh, they're amazingly important. So, a lot of people only talk about product market
So
fit.
let's break it down.
Yeah.
What exactly is this, right?
True.
For someone, let's say if I'm a student and I'm watching this podcast, honestly, I'm hearing this for the first time. So think from that standpoint and break this down in that sense and explain it a bit, and then let's get into the importance of it.
True. No, absolutely. So everyone talks only about product market fit.
Right.
A lot of them don't talk about founder market fit.
Yeah.
So now think of this. If there's a tree, okay, and there's a monkey and a tortoise.
Sure.
Okay, now who will climb the tree?
Monkey,
the monkey would
obviously,
climb the tree.
Obviously,
right?
yeah.
Because you have taken somebody who has the right skills,
Right.
and given them the right problem and area to solve.
Yeah.
Tortoise might be super good, but put that in a different place, it'll beat the monkey.
Correct.
Now this is what is founder market fit.
Yeah.
So typically when most of them actually do, they try to not understand what their personality is,
Right.
what their skills are. Are they good at this or not? Do they know the industry or not? Do they have the network or not?
Right.
When they don't make that assessment and they're just diving in and trying to solve everything, thinking like superheroes,
Right.
what happens is there are many other people along with you who are trying to solve it.
Correct.
Some will succeed, some will fail. I'm not just saying that you should have everything and that's when you'll succeed.
Got it.
A lot of founders are very good hustlers, but what we are talking here is de-risking.
Yeah.
Not in terms of if somebody comes and says, I'll tell you 100% right way to do something, don't believe them, right? Especially for all the students or whoever is listening.
Right.
We have too many mentors or fake sellers.
Oh, yeah.
Where everyone is trying to say that, oh, I'll show you the moon, right? But nobody can show the moon. Only the founder has to figure out the moon.
Right.
Everyone can just enable the moon, right?
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
the thing.
Yeah.
So founder market fit, I think you're clear now. Now, this is where what we do when even at Founders First Network, we actually take them through Ikigai exercise. We make them make a complete self-evaluation.
Oh,
And we really
awesome.
profile them, saying that what is their true personality? What are their strengths?
Right.
Once you know that, it's almost like hiring, right? When you hire, you actually try to understand somebody
Correct.
and then fit them in the right place.
Correct.
So we start actually at founder market fit.
Got it.
And after that, based on these trends,
Yeah.
they figure out which industries are they solving. Are they strong at it? Can they
Got
pick
it.
it up?
Uh-huh.
Once they move through this journey, a product market fit is an extension of this journey.
Got
Because now they've picked an industry that they like, area. Now they've identified a problem.
Right.
And then they're doing the product market. So the product market fit comes at a very later stage. And in fact, most of the existing startups don't have product market fit, even if they're live in the market, by the way.
Oh.
Okay, it's a very common thing. A lot of them don't even realize they don't have a PM fit.
Right.
They'll get few people who are paying money. Rest of them, they don't know why it is not seriously working over and over.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like I think for your audience, I'll just probably help understand what is PM fit, product market fit.
Yeah, please.
So a lot of them think that if I just get initial sales,
Mm-hmm.
that is product market fit.
Right.
That is not product market fit.
Okay.
Product market fit is organically and repeatably,
Mm-hmm.
you are getting recurring, people reaching out to you, recurring sales
Right.
without as much effort as before.
Right.
That is when you've reached a PM fit. Because
Okay.
now it's natural that, for example, everyone is loving the dish.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not even selling, but people are coming back to that restaurant again and again.
Right.
That is product market fit. You might have your favorite restaurants.
Yeah.
That is product market fit, right? So this is how a lot of founders don't do that.
Right.
And they think that I have to do hard selling.
Yeah.
Hard selling is needed, but provided you have PM fit.
Got it.
Yeah, that's
So I have this crazy idea, right?
okay.
And I think this product can be the next big product, right? Should I depend on this, or should I look at the problem consumer faces and the real need of that particular product, right? Because always he was sleeping and a crazy idea came in during the night. Morning you want to do that, right? That versus your actual need based requirement. How should one go about choosing this?
I think that's a great question again. So all of us love crazy ideas because it's like, you can say mentally very stimulating.
Yeah.
It'll give you that high, that, oh, I'm the guy who came up with this cool idea.
And I think
Right.
this can become a unicorn tomorrow.
Correct. So, but the thing is, sorry to disappoint many of them there sitting there, but ideas are cheap. Ideas are not worth. And if you're thinking you're the first guy who came up with the idea, again, you're fooling yourself,
Right.
right? There's so many smart people. So ideas are a great starting point,
Okay.
but an idea by itself is a hobby,
Okay.
right? When you can actually commercialize an idea,
Mm-hmm.
that is a business.
Get that.
Now, how do you commercialize an idea? Because idea, eventually when you tear it down,
Right.
idea is a solution.
Yeah.
But that solution will have a customer.
Got it.
Somebody has to buy it.
Sure.
Somebody has to pay for it. That will have a problem.
Right.
Why will they pay if they don't have a problem that you're solving?
Makes sense.
So this is where most of them love this whole concept of idea,
Mm-hmm.
that they always think that if I have to start, I have to get an idea.
Got it.
But I can actually tell you that in a very structured way, you can pick a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I'm solving it for parents of new kids.
Right.
I can pick that. I can understand what their problems are.
Right.
Then I can give them an amazing solution.
Right.
I can charge them for it.
Right.
And I can actually make a unicorn.
Got it.
Right? So crazy ideas are good, but they are a very small segment. Like, you know, you take Elon Musk trying to solve something,
Yeah.
or a lot of these people trying to do some. So whenever it's a crazy idea, it's a lot about very high tech
Okay.
or patentable innovation. So rest of them are not crazy ideas. They're just ideas. Crazy ideas, a lot of them come through research from industry and market, by the way.
Got it.
Okay, I think I just want to talk a bit deep on this, Pradeep.
Sure.
So a lot of people talk about innovation. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
understand what innovation is.
Right.
Right? So it's not like you slept yesterday night and suddenly you got a beautiful thought and, you know, tomorrow morning that's a big thing. No, it's not.
Okay.
So you take chat GPTs, you take space exploration, you take any of the industries.
Right.
It has come through breakthrough of some research somewhere.
Understood.
So even an idea comes to researchers first. They try to figure out how to make it happen. And that is when it comes into this space.
Okay.
So a lot of you, 99.9%, idea is not the starting point. You can always start happily with this. But if you are somebody who's in the research, somebody who's in like high tech, then these people actually might be working on some cutting edge stuff that nobody knows about.
Okay.
And those can be a different way of commercializing, and both of them are very different. So don't mix
Right.
both of them.
Right. Right. So this clearly gives the importance to execution of it, right? So we always have this debate of idea versus execution. So you clearly mean that execution is more important than idea?
So you can always say that I can make the best Maggie in the world, but eventually the guy who makes it and sells it is the guy. So
Right.
this is where there are too many people sitting and daydreaming
Right.
that I have ideas.
Yeah.
But only when you go and put it on the stove,
Right.
you'll understand whether are you the best guy to do Maggie.
Right.
And even over there, I don't think you'll do it in the first attempt. You'll take few iterations before you know how to make one, right? So execution is bottom line. Because end of the day, I can tell you one very interesting example. So in Stanford, they have done a test. So one
Sure.
teacher has actually done an experiment
Okay.
where she told, I'll give you 5 days time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like, you know, X amount of money, let's say, you know, you're given $10 or
Right.
whatever, right?
Right.
And said, whoever makes the highest amount of money
Mm-hmm.
in one day, they get the prize.
Okay.
Okay. And you might think that, you know, people made different money, obviously, right? Because each of them will think very differently.
Right.
You know who made the most amount of money?
Yeah,
The
please.
person who didn't use the money. Okay.
Okay.
The thing is, because everyone were trying to use the existing money and see how do you make more money from it.
Right.
But the person didn't take money as a constraint.
Okay.
Everyone else was stuck in the constraint that was given by the professor.
Right.
This person said, in 24 hours, what can I do? So they
Yeah.
actually sold the slot to pitch the idea to companies. Like you are
Okay.
pitching your company to almost 60 Stanford graduates sitting in the room.
Right.
Now that is powerful,
Yeah.
right? Any of them even getting hired into those companies. That's amazing for them.
True.
So this is how they made money,
Wow.
right? So
Wow.
life is very interesting. A lot of people are so bound and stuck in thinking traditionally that they actually never think out of the box.
So what I take out from your point is, end of the day, it's bottom line. Are you making money or not, irrespective of how good the idea is?
Execution matters a lot because end of the day, see, all of us are very different people
Yeah.
by nature.
Right.
Now, if you can't walk the talk,
Yeah.
if you can't deliver,
Right.
then even in companies, right? Why is somebody a better employee than somebody else?
Correct.
Because somebody is executing it.
Yeah.
And the world rewards execution. The world doesn't reward failures, doesn't reward anything else.
Right.
So now somebody, even if you execute beautifully
Yeah.
and you can't succeed, still you are not rewarded.
Got it.
But in founders, what I see with most of the best founders is they're amazing
Right.
executors.
Right.
Hands
Got
down.
it.
So if you want to put a percentage, I would say that whole ideation and initial stage, probably just say 10%.
Got it.
The execution is 90%.
Yeah. So Praveen, I want to take a step back here,
Sure.
and since you've gone to US and you studied there, you have seen ecosystem on that side of the world, right? And you're here in India. You worked in an incubation center. You
Right.
mentored a couple of startups and all, right? Now I want to understand how exactly is US startup ecosystem and Indian startup ecosystem. How are these two different, and what are the differences that you largely noticed?
Right. So both are two different worlds altogether.
Yeah.
The reason is US startup ecosystem is very mature.
Okay.
Because if you look at how innovation started even in the US,
Right.
you can take it from the Stanfords of the world, the Harvards of the world,
Yeah.
like MITs of the world. So it has been on the journey for the last 40, 50 years. If you go and read the story of Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
right? So that's how innovation came. They have been very successful founders.
Mhm.
And these founders have reinvested on the new ideas and the innovation part. And even
Yeah.
these schools are producing cutting edge tech, cutting edge innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened over a period of time is a whole ecosystem has been built which has that kind of culture.
Got it.
And it's a developed nation. Right?
Right.
So they're
Right.
solving more advanced problems than day-to-day stuff.
Right.
But if you take India, India is a very jugadu country
Yeah.
where people are like fighting for survival. People
Right.
are fighting for basics.
Right.
That is why when you see the companies built,
Right.
you see most of these companies are delivery companies, urban collapse of the world, a lot of these things. So I don't know, I read this statement somewhere saying that the companies that are being built is a reflection of the economy and the country's needs.
Okay.
Right? So this is where if you see the kind of companies that US is building, that's
Sure.
fitting to their customer segments and the problems they're trying to solve for the world.
Got it.
If you take Indian companies, you're seeing more of Flipkarts, Amazons, Nykas of the world, all these guys coming up because Indian market is still aspirational about these. They are not trying to go build the next ChatGPT even before US.
Right.
Right? So this is where the whole ecosystems are different. Now, to support this, if you see, Bangalore is more advanced than anybody else because Infi and all these started their journey from almost 20, 30 years ago.
Sure.
But if you take Hyderabad and all, they're much earlier in the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So the support system is nothing close to what you get in the US. Still, a lot of people are just figuring out. There's a lot of noise,
Sure.
but many founders are not actually happy with the way ecosystem and the support is available.
Got it.
So there's still a lot of scope to improve the ecosystem in India.
Understood. Understood. So, if you were to launch your startup now again, right? India versus US, what would you choose? And why?
I think it's apples versus oranges. So if you want to make money, US is easier relatively because people actually value paying for innovation and that, right? Like for
Right.
example, you're giving a better solution, they want to pay for it.
Right.
In India, getting money from the customers is super hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? India loves free or India loves value for money.
Sure.
So they're not ready to pay and try.
Okay.
So it's very hard in India to actually get that. And even if you look at the dynamics of the economy,
Yeah.
there is a huge divide in lower middle class, and upper middle class.
Right.
So that way there is a lot of concentration of money with very limited percentage of people,
Right.
and rest of them actually don't have that capacity to pay. So especially for SaaS companies or tech companies and all, right, they all start in India, they pivot to US. And most of consumer-centric companies, they serve India
Right.
because they're actually trying to serve our customers.
Right,
So B2B
right.
typically I would say abroad,
Okay.
B2C, India.
No, yeah, in fact, I heard the statement from somebody that you and I know, Sanjay. We were discussing on one of the startup ideas, and Sanjay was like, Pradeep, if this is the one, and it was B2B SaaS sort of a model, he's like, India, I don't think you should even spend your energy. Go look at international market, especially US and Europe.
No, that
I
is
heard
because,
this, yeah.
No, that is because you will anyway spend the same amount of time and money effort.
Correct.
Now, where do you want to spend?
Yeah. Obviously, wherever I get,
Yeah.
a better output of
So
it.
I think a lot of them are like blinded in passion and knowing where they can solve.
Right.
They don't think about where will they make the most money and target, right? I think if people use that logic, they'll actually put less effort and in the right places and make money faster.
Got
That
it.
is also one of the core principle of serial entrepreneurs, because by now they know where not to burn their hands.
Got it.
So they'll only focus on the places where. So there is this nice statement called "follow the money," right?
Yeah.
That's a very true statement that I
Right,
learned by
right.
screwing up enough.
In fact, you also made the statement of India is divided in 3 segments, right?
Right.
Customer layer, which is on the top, is where the whole of this new commerce tech that is evolving, right? Zepto, Swiggy's, Instamart or Blinkit, all of these are largely playing in the top layer of it.
Right.
The mid and the bottom of it, I don't think they're even getting into that
So
area.
India is an amazing country for small businesses.
Yeah.
It's just that small businesses are not sexy, and that is why nobody really notices them.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, what is the strength of even India and US for the matter? Small businesses constitute almost 90% or more. I don't have the exact data. But when you start looking at this, these are actually the backbone of the economy. And there is tremendous amount of scope for small businesses because everyone thinks I need to build a unicorn.
Right.
But let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Building a unicorn means that you have to repeatably serve such a big user base.
Correct.
And imagine somebody's doing it with tech. There is no limit to how much you can capture.
Got it.
That means that you can't have many players in a market.
Yeah.
And that is why most people, think that everyone has to build a unicorn. But the reality is building small business is very cool, very sexy because you actually are able to make money and enough money.
Yeah.
That is good for you. So that is where, I always now, there was a time when even I used to run behind unicorns, by the way. I don't want to lie, right? But now I really want to build beautiful businesses that make money.
Right.
And that's the principle that we also use in Founders First Network for all our companies.
Right.
Saying that, can you show revenue?
Right.
Can you show money?
Right.
Scalability is an outcome of innovating on top of established models.
Got it.
That's what we are trying to do.
So since we discussed about the comparison of US-India startup ecosystem, I also want to touch upon the venture capital availability to the founders, right? In both the economies, US versus India again.
So again, US is very well established in terms of funding because there are a lot of people. Let's talk about first the investors. Okay. So the investor ecosystem in the US is very polished because they have like very set structured systems.
Sure.
And even the models around supporting ESOPs, supporting safe notes, everything is very established.
Okay.
And there is very stringent process even in terms of who is an investor or who is not.
Okay.
In terms of declaring their system.
Sure.
Right? So that way, US ecosystem is very well oiled, and that's why even a lot of Indian companies, if they have to take funding from US entities,
right,
the US investors ask them to create a subsidiary in the US,
right,
and they'll invest there,
right,
because exiting is also easy over there.
Right.
But when you take Indian investors, a lot of people don't understand startups. They consider startups like another investment like real estate. Right? So what happens is, if you look at the overall bunch of investors, the people who truly understand startup market is very limited.
Right, right.
Rest of them are expecting same returns from the founders.
Right.
And secondly, they start pushing them for too much, information, returns, everything at a much faster rate. They're not happy even if somebody's failing and all. In the US, people just move on. I put money, didn't work 6 months, go back, work on the next idea.
Right.
In India, we don't have that. So the returns expectation is much higher. Risk capacity is a lot lower. And in US, it's exactly the opposite.
That's because of the availability of the fund or overall ecosystem.
I think even in India, there is enough money. See, the point is you have money. Now, you as an investor are looking at where to put the money.
Right.
Now, you can only put in an asset class when you understand the asset class.
Right. Right.
Now, what is happening is there are not enough educated investors in the market who could be from family businesses, could be from individual angel investors. So what their expectations is very different. Now, some of these angel groups like Hyderabad Angels, Mumbai Angels, Lead Angels, all of them are trying to front end it and do that.
Yeah.
But still, end of the day, it's not like somebody who's built a tech startup, like imagine, let's say it's Kunal Shah or Bansals and all of these guys, the way they would invest would be very different than a family business guy investing into a company.
Okay.
Right? That is because they truly understand what it takes to build a tech startup.
Right.
Now these guys have built a brick and mortar company. They'll always use the same, value system or the mental models and assess companies.
Right. So I put in X amount of money. How much am I taking in the evening?
Yes.
Not even the
and
month
by
end.
the way, if you think there's no money in India, there's enough money.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Actually, all of them might be thinking that fundraising is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, fundraising is very doable because even they are looking for good companies. They are not finding enough companies. When I talk to a lot of investors,
Right.
they always say, Praveen, if you know any good company, because you're building a network,
Yeah.
if you know any good companies that you have really seen that they're good, tell us.
Wow.
So there is no shortage of capital.
Okay.
If somebody is thinking there's shortage of capital, they're wrong.
Right.
There is enough capital. There is lack of product market fits and very validated models where you're de-risking it for the investor. And the second important thing where it's a big misconception or big myth that people have,
Right.
everyone is investable. It is
Right.
wrong. Everyone is not investable.
Okay.
Because if I'm an investor, I'm putting in money, my expectation is 10x or more
Sure.
returns.
Sure.
A lot of them are beautiful small businesses or money-making machines.
Mm-hmm.
But investor expectations can't be met.
Okay.
That
so
is also
10x of that invested amount is not something that this company can meet.
absolutely. Because now see, you start a restaurant, you're making good money for yourself.
Sure.
Now investor can't get 10x of that return
Yeah.
unless you can show him that there's a way to build it. Now, given that they don't invest, these guys think that investor is not investing into me, so my idea is bad, my company is bad. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But just let's go back one step and understand where does money come from.
Sure.
One is angel investments, which could be your own money.
Yeah.
But you're talking about any venture capitalists, they're actually taking money as a fund from a lot of HNIs or companies.
Sure.
And they're saying in 5 years, I'll return 10x of your 4x of this money.
Mm-hmm.
Now for that, they're taking the risk of investing into 10 to 20 companies.
Right.
And assuming 6 to 7 of them fail, 1 does okay and 2 are super hit.
Right.
Now they're averaging that whole 10x across 3 companies.
Yeah. Correct.
So for them, entry date and exit date
Yeah.
is what matters.
Right.
So a lot of founders don't understand this fundamental dynamics from their side of the world.
Correct.
So there's nothing wrong. They'll invest in, that is their business model of putting money into things that can do 10x
Got it.
and make money. So they're ready for taking the high risk. Whereas most of the traditional investors don't want to take risk, but they want to get 20%, 30%, 40%.
Yeah.
That is where the big divide is today.
Got it. So, Praveen, now that we're speaking of funding, I want to understand from a founder standpoint, right? When is the right time? My MVP is ready, and I know I'm now good to go for funding. How should I approach, and exactly at what stage should I approach?
So the way a lot of people think about funding is only when somebody invests,
Yeah.
I'll work on my idea. Even for testing my idea, somebody has to invest money into it.
Sure.
But the point is, now imagine you are the investor.
Yeah.
Would you think like that? Obviously not.
No.
You want something that you know has potential.
Correct.
Something that works.
Right.
Something that I can take a risk on.
Right.
Now, if it's a serial entrepreneur, they definitely have an advantage because they look at the founder's track record and they look at what problem are they solving and what is the market size.
Sure.
So that way, typically, if you're asking like what all areas people look at,
Yeah.
they see first is the team or the founder. How good are they?
Right.
What is the background? Do they have a track record?
Right.
XYZ. Then how big is the problem that they're solving?
Okay.
Is there enough market for it or is it a growing market that they can invest in?
Right.
Third is what are they trying to solve
Right.
and how good is their solution?
Okay.
Or what is the vision of this company?
Sure.
So this is where, because they don't have much information or data about that company yet,
Yeah.
they actually take a bet in the initial stages,
Okay.
right? But when you're talking about ideation, MVPs and all that stuff, typically they are looking for some proof of concept.
Right.
Worst to worst case scenarios. Yes, there are people who even invest at idea stage if they truly believe in the founder
Okay.
or believe in such a crazy idea or thought that they think that this is crazy, we just want to try. In US, it does happen a lot. But when you take India for that matter,
Right.
the risk capacity is very low.
Okay.
A lot of people do not just invest on idea stage.
Okay.
They want founders to at least do the basic validation
Right.
and prove it.
Right.
So this is where angel investors come into play.
Okay.
But if you're looking anything at VC level,
Mm-hmm.
then even these things don't work. You have to hit a scale of revenue
Okay.
where you can at least show that I have recurring product market fit and a scalable model.
Right.
And that is where they're investing, and they can get that return because they also look for how can they exit from the company.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So I think let's move back to the founder, right?
Right.
From founder standpoint, right?
Mm.
If I'm wanting to quickly make, say, first 1 CR
Right.
and eventually move to 10 CR and 100 CR, right?
Mhm.
Let's take first 1 CR as an example.
Right.
How can I make that quick 1 CR moment I want to start, moment I start?
Right. So let's say let's make it cooler. Okay. So let's say you have to make 1 crore in 6 months. Right?
Okay.
So if you want to do something like that,
Right.
by the way, don't take this as standard advice, right? So I have to give a disclaimer, right? But the process to go do this, right? Without putting the 6 months
Right.
there is a very repeatable way of building companies and making money.
Sure.
Okay. First and foremost, wherever, like let's say you know exactly yourself.
Right.
Let's say I'm extremely good at education.
Right.
Now I can specialize in startup education.
Sure.
Now I have to package it first, and then sell it to more people.
Right.
And then sell it to even more people.
Right.
Now imagine I'm selling something which is like, let's say 10,000 rupees, and I'm selling it to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I've already hit my 1 crore.
Sure.
Now, looks very doable, right? But it's not a linear curve. It's not a straight line.
Hmm.
In your first 1 to 2, 3 months, a lot of times what happens is you might make lesser,
Sure.
but you're actually validating and understanding who is that initial customer base. Now, if you take my own example, I'm trying to see if working professionals are my target audience, are students my target audience,
Okay.
are early stage founders my target audience. Now, figuring this definitely takes anything between 1 to 3 months if you're following lean methodologies.
Sure.
And this faster. A lot of people will take a lot more time, right? So now once you understand this, now let's say in 2 or 3 months you've figured out that repeatedly working professionals in MNCs are my target market.
Right.
Then you can actually go aggressive on ads if you have the financials in place or the models in place where your acquisition cost is an affordable level.
Got it.
And then you can actually do it pretty fast in terms of repeatable selling.
Right.
That is where you see this whole new age education creators coming in,
Correct.
where you see so many ads of every other guy trying to sell a course.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And actually they make money as well because they have all built a beautiful funnel where you might be thinking that 99 rupees or 499 rupees they are charging is the money they're making.
Yeah.
That actually is their ad cost that they're recovering.
In fact, sometimes it is more than their less than their ad cost. They end up spending more than what they actually take it from you. Is what
Exactly. So a lot of people, common market thinking is that money they're giving, they're getting rich by just these guys paying 99 rupees or 299, 499. That is actually the acquisition cost and ads.
Right.
And what they actually upsell to you after you join the program,
Right.
that is where they actually make the money.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, can people make 1 crore in 6 months? Absolutely.
Sure.
If you're so good, figure out what you're good at, figure out one thing that you're extremely good at selling,
Right.
and then package it well, and just repeatedly hit over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And whatever if your price point is 1,000, find 10,000 customers. If your price point is 10,000, find 1,000 customers.
Yeah.
You have your first revenue.
Ticket size into
First
a number
one.
of.
Simple mathematics.
Yeah.
So you have your first 1 crore in hand.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So, Praveen, you had your 2 startups and you couldn't make it big.
Mhm.
If you can throw a little light on what were the challenges and why
Sure.
was it not movable? Because a lot of podcasts we keep seeing people speak about success stories and how they killed it, but genuinely, not everybody makes it to the other end of the light, right?
Right.
In the process, there are a lot of things that you can't control,
Right.
and I'm sure in your case also something like that could have happened.
Absolutely.
And I would want to understand that in a deeper manner. If you can help us walk through why Praveen couldn't become a unicorn founder.
No, I think that's fair enough. So, it's just like this, right? If you take number of startups versus number of small businesses,
Right.
small businesses are too many,
Yeah.
startups are too few.
Sure.
Similarly, but startups get all the attention.
Uh-huh.
Same is with success stories versus failures.
How do you differentiate small business and startup?
Right?
Very
Okay, basic question. Okay, I'll
basic
first answer
question.
that. So I'll give you a nice hack.
Sure.
Just see around. If you find thousands and lakhs of similarly doing companies,
Okay.
then typically they are small businesses.
Got
So
it.
small businesses are something that are not scaling up, at exponential growth.
Sure.
They follow more linear model,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a limit to which they can grow.
Okay.
That is what small businesses are.
Sure.
And banks will give you loans. People will not think it's risky.
Oh,
Your
okay.
parents, your family will not tell, why are you doing this?
Okay.
Okay. This is what small business is.
Got it.
If you're doing a startup, nobody will to put loans onto you.
Sure.
Banks will not give you money.
Right.
Even if you see Swiggy-like companies,
Mm-hmm.
you can't find any or very few,
Right.
right? And you'll not have any of them. Everyone will ask, what are you working on? What are you doing in life, right?
Yeah.
So they're like all these criteria, if I list out, might look funny, but very easily you can differentiate between both of them,
Sure.
right? And coming back to like what we are talking about, now the failure stories that you're asking about, actually, even all these unicorn founders or startups, even they went through failures. Like just that nobody talks about it, and media only covers success stories
Mm-hmm.
because that they only look for hits to their sites.
Right.
You write failure stories and start a website, it'll not work. So they are also in the business of making money.
Similar to movies, right?
Yeah.
A hero dies or heroine dies, it doesn't really take off.
Take
It's
off.
a utter flop.
Correct.
If there is a happy ending, everything is good.
Hero won the war.
Hero won the war, then it's a super hit.
Super hit. So here also, I don't think like somebody should actually measure a founder based on success or failure,
Right.
because a lot of people who started along with me have become unicorns,
Right.
and a lot of people who are really good couldn't make it as well, right? So, but each of us have different personalities. So there are two things here, Pradeep. One is controllables and non-controllables.
Right.
When you talk about controllables, right? Absolutely. When you repeatedly work on different ideas, these two startups.
Yeah.
For the first one, we didn't realize that market size was small, or like, we were so much in love with what we do.
Startup
Now,
bite you're speaking
correct.
about. Yeah.
That is where it was controllable by putting better frameworks around it. Maybe we didn't have some skills. We could have learned those skills. That could be controllables.
Right.
What are uncontrollables? Now, when I go and sell to somebody,
Right.
them not accepting it, or maybe uncontrollables could be, life having, different events. Like let's say, my co-founder's health was not great.
Okay.
Right. So this were like uncontrollables that are not in our hands.
Right.
And then, COVID happening.
Right.
It's an uncontrollable.
Right.
So what happens is, end of the day, it's like 1,000 things coming together for something to work or something to fail.
Sure.
Because even if the unicorn founders also have figured it out, then every single company should be successful after they start.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that.
Right.
So that is where even my failure journey, I think I can say that I've made more mistakes than good things. And I'm very proud of it, by the way.
Okay.
Because end of the day, most of the founders should actually go out and accept the mistakes they have made.
Right.
That is when they're creating a good culture in the system.
Right.
And that is when they will become examples for people who are looking forward to them.
Right.
And I don't know about others. I want to make failure culture more viral than success culture.
Yeah. In fact, I was reading this article somewhere. Average success rate of startup for a founder. Let's say you are a founder, you started and you succeeded. It's not the first attempt.
Right.
You got to do multiple attempts and then the success comes in, and the average is around 7, if I'm not wrong. That's what I read in the article.
So a lot of them might think that only seeing the younger founders doing it, right? But if you look at the average entrepreneur age, it's around 40, 41 years. Okay.
Right.
So most of them who are actually building extremely good companies are people who have strong fundamentals, experience of the industry and all.
Right.
And a lot of them actually, as you rightly said, it's not the first attempt. A lot of them don't talk about, so even for me, Startup Byte is not the first company.
Right.
I've been like fighting it out for the last 5 years before that also.
Okay.
But they're not registered companies, not official companies. They're attempts to try and build something, try and do something. So that hustling and learning culture is something that is an integral part of it.
Right.
So now if people understand that, they'll definitely know that your first company is not going to be successful.
Got it.
But yes, there are some exceptional use cases and all that stuff. Now people only listen to that and think that they want to be that.
Understood.
So that is where things come from. But on an average, if you are asking me, never expect your first company to work, but your first company will give you one of the best learnings, because everything that you thought in life is true is wrong.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So you spoke about your co-founder's health and all, right? Not getting deeper into it, but I want to understand the co-founder's importance, right? You want to start and you have this idea, and you want, because obviously one person can't do everything. So how important is this co-founder role? How do you choose the co-founder?
So there are two parts to it. A lot of people have this question. I keep getting asked this question that, do we need a co-founder to start a company?
Right.
The thing is, you don't need a co-founder to start a company.
Wow.
Right? So you can start alone, and you can attract people who love your vision, who match your skill set, everything actually.
Got it.
So a lot of people should never get stopped that because I don't have somebody as a co-founder, I can't start.
Right.
Yes, investors love co-founders because they're taking the risk more balancedly between the two people.
Because there's this complementary skill logic.
Right.
That
we'll talk about that as well. But what I'm trying to tell is, for an investor, imagine you're the solo founder.
Right.
And let's say tomorrow morning you die. Then the company is out for a toss.
Yeah.
So for them, they always prefer co-founders because they always have 1-2 people who will still run the company. If one guy is exiting, one guy has died, or anything might have happened. That is the thing. Now coming to the point of co-founders as a concept. Now over there, what you need to understand is co-founders is extremely important. It is like complementing you, because imagine you're a techie.
Right.
You'll be sitting and writing code, but who is going to go do the selling?
Right.
Now imagine you go and do the selling. Who will sit and write the code?
Right.
So this way what happens is nobody is good at all the skills. Everyone could be average at a bunch of skills.
Right.
Or extremely good at one skill.
Right.
This is where co-founder comes into play.
Got it.
So your initial team or co-founders or even the founding team, the way we call it, it has to be people who actually complement your skill set. Like you're a techie, you need a business person.
Right.
But most common mistake most of them make is they just get friends, family. I'm a coder, he's a coder. We both gel super well, so we'll start a company.
Right.
Later, they fight that who is the CEO or CTO.
Yeah.
Because both of them want to be the person. Because both of them feel that they know the skills.
Yeah.
So this is where there's a beautiful book. If your audience want to read it, it's called Co-Founder's Dilemma.
Co-Founder's Dilemma.
Dilemma, where they have interviewed more than 4,000 entrepreneurs and listed out all the kind of problems co-founders can have.
Oh, okay.
So that is one very important thing. The second important thing is a lot of people don't sign co-founders agreement. Okay. So this is where people are like, they don't have rules set between each other.
Right.
On what to do in decision making.
Got it.
Let's say everything good happens, then everything looks rosy.
Yeah.
But let's say there's a conflict that starts coming in. Now somebody wants to leave the company.
Yeah.
How will you handle it?
Right.
Somebody is trying to create a problem. How will you handle it?
Right.
Right? Somebody is not fine or not in terms where they can work. How will you handle it?
Yeah.
Now all these things are something which a lot of us actually don't put in place.
Got it.
So I recommend every single founder to have a co-founders agreement in place when they're starting the company.
Right. Got it.
And how do you find a co-founder, if you ask me? I think I just want to cover that point, because a lot of them always think that I'll just go out today and I want a co-founder. I'll post a co-founder. But most of the co-founders are people you already know. Okay. Because if you're going out and meeting a lot of people, you're building a relationship. And co-founder is a lot of trust, just beyond skill. Right. Even if somebody is extremely skilled, if you're doubting every day morning if that guy will stay or leave, it's a severe stress on you. Correct. So what I would suggest most of these wannabe or aspiring entrepreneurs is start networking from now on. Start pitching your idea. A lot of people hesitate to even tell their idea and all. Now, when people know that you're working on this, like let's say people know that Praveen is working on this, then a lot of people will come. Maybe some of them might become my co-founders in the future. Awesome. But you have to go tell the whole world that I'm doing this. Okay. That's how you find the best co-founders.
Nice. So, you just taking out what you said. If somebody has an idea, they don't necessarily have to wait or search for co-founder. Get started.
So if you have to put this whole podcast into one word, it's get started. Okay. That's the message I want to give to everyone, because everyone is sitting and dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. Right. that they're never acting either for networking, to learn the skills, to
Right.
try and see if something works or not.
Right.
And until then, you don't have a path forward. So
Got it.
if anybody is starting now, then maybe in 1 year, somebody will figure out, 3 years, somebody will figure out, 5 years, somebody will figure out.
Right.
Everyone has the journey.
Got it. Praveen, I see a lot of people kind of get the product ready. They are good to go to the market, right? But then a lot of time they find it hard to sell the product in the market, right? So what exactly is your view on product versus sales or marketing?
So when you actually look at product versus sale, building product is easy because that's in your hand.
Right.
But when you're actually talking about selling,
Right.
then what happens over there is now it's in the hands of the customer.
Right. Yeah.
We are going and pitching something. So most of the founders don't like getting no's from somebody. Right? So what happens is they always love sitting and building product because it is making them feel good, like, oh, this page came so beautifully.
Right.
This app is so cool. This feature is so awesome.
Right.
And when they go tell people that I'm building XYZ,
Right.
then what happens is they're feeling very happy.
Sure.
But the real acid test is making somebody pay for it.
Right.
So most of the founders make this common mistake of focusing too much on product and focusing too less on sales.
Got it.
But in the initial stages, you have to focus more on sales.
Right.
And less on the product. Because if you have enough sales, your customers will actually tell you the feedback on the product.
Got it.
And tell what they like, what they don't.
Right.
And based on this usage, you can actually build beautiful products.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So should I wait for this product to be like at least 50% ready? When do I decide? 50%, 100%, 30%?
When somebody is ready to pay. Right?
So
Now, because from your end,
uh-huh.
you might not know when something is complete.
Right. Right.
But let's say somebody is saying that I already have this problem and I love the solution you're giving.
Right.
I'm ready to pay for it even if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
That means that you have something that people want.
In fact, that's exactly what we are doing here in my organization at PowerUrBiz. We help founders take the product to the market and kind of help them on sales, and we guide them on how to pick their customer, how to pitch. All of this, the whole sales expertise that I carry for the last 15 years is what we exactly helping them
I
with.
think that's a great service. A lot of people keep coming and asking us help for sales, connections and all.
Right.
Because a lot of them founders are people who have worked in MNCs and companies.
Correct.
They know their industry, they know their core areas.
Yeah.
They don't know how to sell it,
Correct.
how to package it.
Right.
So in fact, actually you guys can even do sales workshops for founders.
Yeah, we plan to. In fact, I've seen founders fumbling on the cold call. As in, they call the potential customer. They know he's the right person to pitch this product, but they don't know how to open the conversation as well.
Right.
And that's exactly where we come in and help
Wonderful.
them. Yeah.
No, that's
So
great.
Praveen, let's move to incubation as a whole, right? I see on one side colleges also have incubation. Then there are incubations out in market as well, right? And you worked at IIIT Hyderabad incubation center as well. Can you help us break that whole incubation part of it? Because when I started my career back in 2010, it was all about job. There was no enough ecosystem of startup.
Right.
Now we have enough ecosystem, and thanks to incubation centers, and you come with that experience. If you can help us walk.
I can help you with that. So see, primarily, let's take and understand what incubators are.
Right.
Now, if you take hospitals, now if a baby is not full term, they are put on an incubator.
Right.
That means that they are put on a support system until they get stable.
Sure.
Now, the same word is used in the startup ecosystem. So this is where, when you talk about a typical incubator, right? You have so many incubators, IIITs, T Hubs of the world, V Hubs of the world, right? So many. What is happening over there is they are trying to build a support system for you, depending on which stage are you. You could be at idea stage, you could be at MVP stage, you could be at a pre-launch stage, or maybe you're live as well.
Got it.
Based on each of these stages, they have built programs.
Right.
Where they say that, oh, you're in the idea stage, this is the program you should join. This is a program you have to join, right?
Right.
This way people have built these series of programs.
Got it.
But still, the quality of the programs is being figured out.
Okay.
Because the outcomes are still not as much, and founders are not as good.
Right.
in terms of happy with the outcomes that they are getting from each of them.
Right.
So
right.
this is where incubators are very needed. And if you think we have too many incubators, we actually have less incubators.
Okay.
Okay. If you look at US.
Sorry if it came out that like that, but I was comparing current market scenario with 2010 when I started.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of incubators.
Right.
We don't have a lot of quality incubators.
Okay.
Let me put like that.
Got it.
But if you look at overall number of incubators, we are way behind US or China.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah. I read this.
Right,
I read this a lot.
So
Yeah.
primarily, incubators is a beautiful thing, but yes, we have to really now step up the incubation system in India. From the government front, even from each of these local ecosystems, everyone is trying to do a bit, but still, there's a good way to go where you can actually nail incubation the way the founder wants it.
Okay. Okay. So what exactly happens within the incubation center when a founder reaches there?
So first and foremost, one common thing that everyone should really know is incubators can't take everyone.
Got it.
Okay. So everyone thinks that I have an idea, I'll go to incubator and they'll help me. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Incubators have programs with an application process.
Sure.
So typically anything from 10 to 20 startups is what they try to accommodate, or if bigger incubators might go even 30, 40.
Right.
But in these incubators, what happens is they first filter you out based on how much clarity do you have.
Right.
What help do you need?
Right.
And can they help you in first place?
Got it.
You're going and trying to do a healthcare startup in an agri incubator.
Right.
It'll not suit the equation.
Sure.
And even the government gives funds, right? We have something called Atal incubation centers.
Okay.
Government actually gives funds to these incubators to invest into a kind of startups.
Got it.
So even when they ask for incubator, they say, I want to focus on these 3 areas, give me money for this.
Right.
That is how these incubators are. Now, once you go through the process where they review your deck, they put you through a small interview, right? Where they understand what your thing is.
Yeah.
After that, if you get selected, now you're part of the incubation program.
Okay.
When you're part of the incubation program, what they do is they give you a space, and of course, there'll be some charges for the space and the program.
Sure.
And during this program, they take you through a journey. Typically, anything from 3 to 6 months, or some things will be even 1 year or more.
Right.
Where during this incubation period, they actually try to help you with what interventions you need. So one is that saying that I need connects with XYZ.
Sure.
I need help with putting my deck together, XYZ, or I need a
Right.
contact of a chartered accountant. They'll do all that.
Sure.
The second thing what they do is they also try to give you advice through mentors.
Got it.
So they'll bring in mentors and they will actually tell, people who have done it and seen it. They'll come and actually tell you. And that way, month on month, when you're working on your idea, you're getting some guidance from professionals.
Sure.
And the third thing is they do a lot of programs and events where they're actually doing the activity, where they're saying that, okay, we are going to get a speaker who's going to talk on fundraising.
Okay.
We are going to get a person who's going to tell you on how community building.
Got
So
it.
this way, they actually bring in different people so that they're trying to tell that, hey, you need all these kinds of things. And typically, a lot of these programs also have something called a demo day
Got it.
at the end of it, where they actually showcase how much they have done and what they have worked on.
Right.
And some of the incubators also give investment support. So one is if they have already grants and government funds available, they can put in and take some equity from that
Right.
to build their models. Or at the end of it, they invite investors to come and listen to the incubating startups
Right.
and try to help them fundraise with that
Understood.
connection. So that is what typically happens in incubator.
Very nice. Very nice. Thanks for that breakdown of it, Praveen. So there's the Startup India program as well, right? How will that help people who are wanting to start?
So Startup India is more like a government initiative, which is think of like a umbrella ecosystem.
Sure.
Now government has a lot of schemes for founders. Every startup has state policies, by the way.
Right.
Sorry, every state has startup policies.
Yeah.
And government has a lot of fund that they're given. But the distribution channel they do is through all these AICs, schemes,
Okay.
loans, and all these things.
Right.
So what I would recommend most of the founders is, now let's say there's a seed support scheme is there.
Sure.
Seed, right? And then you have schemes for Mudra loan, like for women, for example.
Right. Right.
So there are MSMEs, they have different bunch of loans available and schemes available.
Yeah.
Collateral free loans available.
Right.
Now the point is government doesn't know who is genuine, who is not.
Got it.
So they take the help of these nodal agencies or incubators or verified agencies
Right.
where they say that you have the authority to distribute that money or the support.
Got it.
Now that way, at a national level incubation policy, national level taking feedback and doing it, they're doing it, and every year on year they're trying to improve the policies.
Understood.
Like for example, angel tax has been taken out.
Mm-hmm.
That is where people were actually trying to pay money when they didn't even make money out of something.
Okay.
Right, that was abolished eventually. Right, so a lot of these things are from the government level, they take at it. So if you go to Startup India site, you can browse all the support system available.
Understood.
So all the competitions, all the incubators available, all the schemes available and all. I recommend everyone to actually check out that, because that's a great starting point for many people.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So Praveen, I think let's move back to what you're currently doing.
Sure.
Founders First Network, which is basically bringing in all the founders. I would want you to break that down and help us understand what exactly is Founders First Network and why should somebody speak to you if I'm planning to start.
Sure. So I think first things first, now let's understand what's wrong with the system. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're building a startup, there are not enough people doing the same thing, right? That's what I told you. So now let's understand what is missing.
Right.
And then I'll tell you what we're doing. Right?
Sure.
Right now, what is happening is India is dreaming.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to build a company.
Right.
They're seeing Shark Tanks,
Yeah.
the world, right?
Yeah.
They're seeing people around them make money. So it's a beautiful dream for many that they want to be self-reliant, self-sustainable, make
Right.
money and grow in their life.
Right.
Now the problem here is everyone is selling that we will take you to the moon.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
the reality is most of them are not even going till the outer space
Yeah.
or not even crossing the atmosphere.
Right.
The problem is that everyone is just thinking from their end, saying that
Mhm.
I'll do a program for you, I'll connect you with somebody, I'll make money in the process.
Right.
But nobody is thinking from a founder front, saying that what does a founder go through in their life?
Right.
What do they really want?
Right.
Are they doing it in the right way or the wrong way?
Mm-hmm.
That is where the challenge is. Now, when you look at it, there are 2-3 levels of problems that are existing today.
Right.
One is proper structured validation education.
Sure.
So a lot of these people are leaving jobs, risking their lives, divorces, they're selling properties, 100 things are happening.
Yeah.
And they are not even realizing that they're doing it wrong, right? So what at Founders First Network, what we are trying to do is, we are actually trying to build completely application-oriented education.
Right.
Zero fluff.
Sure.
We are saying that you come, we'll teach you how to build startups and apply it, not only just sit and listen and learn.
Mm-hmm.
So we have boot camps, we have programs where we're actually making them apply everything that they learn. So if they're ideating, they're making a list of ideas.
Right.
If they're validating, they're actually going out into the market and trying it.
Got it.
So that way we are trying to fix that problem where everyone comes in,
Mm-hmm.
is actually skilled.
Right.
It's just like, a lot of people graduating from engineering are not good at going and doing the jobs.
Right.
We are actually covering that gap for startups.
Awesome. Okay.
Where you coming out, you actually learn and apply it. That is the
Right.
first place.
Sure.
The second thing is, from a founder's front,
Right.
there are too many programs, too much noise, too many things happening. Everyone is
Yeah.
trying to sell.
Right.
Everyone is trying to teach. Like an investor wants to put money, they'll pitch themselves.
Yeah.
Incubator wants all the startups to come, they'll pitch.
Right.
Everyone is pitching.
Right.
But founders are getting bombarded with too much information.
Mm.
They don't know where to go, what to do, navigate all that system.
Right.
That is why we are building Founders First Network. The first one is
Okay.
Founders First Academy.
Okay.
The Founders First Network, we are trying to build a curated ecosystem for founders by collaborating with the entire ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to be founders first. As in, we are only going to do whatever is good for the founders,
Right.
and we are going to cut down the noise for them. And we are trying to work with the ecosystem in building a better support system for them.
Right.
That is where our goal is in the future, to empower thousands and even lakhs of founders.
Mm-hmm.
First, to learn the subject in the right way.
Right.
And after that, apply it in the right way.
Yeah.
And through this journey, a lot of them might realize that their idea will not work,
Sure.
and they might iterate many number of times.
Got
Or
it.
they might go back and continue doing their jobs.
Right.
So this is our future vision as we go along, to really build a more structured system and
Right.
produce companies at scale
Okay.
at a broader
Okay.
level. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. I think there are a lot of people who speak about idea. There are a lot of people who speak about raising fund, etc. But protecting founders' interest and helping founders to start and get moving Not everybody, there's not enough support, I would say. And good that you have initiated
So
this.
our single KPI is outcomes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
way we are measuring Founders First Academy on network, how is it shaping up?
Yeah.
We are looking at what outcomes are we able to bring. Even if it's failure, that's a faster outcome to get rather than everything being a success.
Fail fast.
Yes. Even if they're failing fast, failing in the right way.
Right.
That is where we are trying to create new models and systems where we are telling that there is a way people can be taken through a journey.
Got it.
And not only that, we are trying to build paths for them. Saying that, hey, it's not that you failed and you're lost. Continue being in the ecosystem. Continue working. Help other startups.
Right.
That way, we are building a series of entrepreneur in residence programs, talent programs,
right.
a bunch of these things which will help them stay and continue to grow.
Awesome.
And eventually, when they're truly ready for their company, it might actually work.
Very nice. Very nice. In fact, I see potentially with this, if I'm looking out for a co-founder, let's say my strength is sales and marketing, and I want a tech co-founder. Definitely this network, I see a potential of finding a co-founder as well, and we can join hands with some of them.
Absolutely. So the way we are doing it is in a very beautiful way where I'm actually building levels like a game, where level 1 is understanding the fundamentals and applying the fundamentals, right? So we have a 30-day boot camp for that.
Okay.
So the most recent boot camp, we have almost on an average 8 to 9 years work ex. Wow. We have people from marketing, sales, across industries, tech, almost close to 6 to 7 industries. Now, these are the people where you actually, for the first time in life, have a group of people who's everyone trying to work on their idea.
Right.
And learn that.
Right.
Now, imagine as this network grows up, you are ending up building a huge pool of talent where they are learning from each other, networking with each other, without even realizing they'll actually have a lot of co-founders, future team members, and that support system.
Makes sense. So Praveen, let's say I'm working and I want to start. At what stage would you want people to reach out to you?
I think there are 2-3 stages that you can actually look at Founders First Network or reaching out to me. First and foremost, if you're just in a company and you want to learn startup education or try it out without leaving your job.
Right.
And by the way, what we are not teaching is not just startup education. We are teaching you problem solving 101.
Right.
How to identify a problem, how to pick a customer.
Right.
So even if you're working in your existing companies, you'll actually do better by going through this program.
Got that.
So don't just get thinking that only if I have to do a startup, I have to be part of the program.
Yeah.
So that is first segment.
Sure.
Second is people who are in the early stages of their startups. Could be at an idea stage, could be figuring out ideas, or they don't have ideas and they want to come up with ideas.
Yeah.
These guys also are like potential people who can reach out. Okay. And we can guide them in terms of how can they start and how can they go through the journey.
Got that.
The third kind of segment of people are early stage entrepreneurs. People who are just launched or in that early stage, or they haven't figured out their product market fit.
Right.
Even they might need a lot of support on validation and repeated experimentation.
Got it.
So we can actually support them. So that way we can understand the needs of, is education the problem, is application of education or the connections. And based on that, we can tell them that what is the best way forward.
Right.
That's the reason. So, but anyways, if you're just thinking about anything on early stage startups, just say hi, we'll talk.
Good. But tell me one thing again. Now that you've been a founder, I'm a founder now, and I've been an employee. You've been an employee. We say that before you quit the job, try it out, right? But then when we speak of this from a employer standpoint, it kind of comes into moonlighting. What's your opinion on that? Because honestly, thinking of that, I never started what I was wanting to start while working. And I was one of those guys who's like rated very, very high on the performance. I was always looked up to go-to guy for problem solving or anything of that sort for my division, my department that I was working for, and high performing person, obviously. So I could never find a bandwidth as well to try things that I was wanting to start, right? And hence I said, okay, let me take a pause. Let me stop this, take up this full time, and I'll go all in, right? And give myself 2 years. That has been my thought process. Right. On the other side, you're saying don't leave, start.
Right. No, I think no, I was laughing because it's a very interesting question. So there are two sides of the world.
Sure.
Okay. Just like for anything, you have two sides. Now let's talk from a company front.
Sure.
Many, if they're thinking that their company will survive,
Yeah.
they're wrong. A lot of companies are going to get disrupted with tech, AI, and all.
Right.
What they need inside the company is actual problem solvers.
Sure.
Now, unfortunately, most of them who are doing jobs are not proper problem solvers.
Okay.
Because they haven't done problem solving over and over. They have been only building one skill and trying to do it over and over.
Mm-hmm.
So now what the world needs is problem solvers, because instead of 5 employees, you need 1 employee.
Correct.
So doing multidisciplinary roles as you go along is going to be super common.
Got it.
So if is a company, or if I'm talking to a company right now through your podcast, I think you have to actually make and train your employees to actually go learn these kinds of skills.
Right.
Because that's how they're actually more skilled for the next future.
Got it.
Right? And when you look at it from a employee front,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge taboo in India
Sure.
that, oh, if somebody's trying something, they're going to leave. But unfortunately, what they don't know is 9 out of 10 fail.
Yeah.
So most of them can't risk. But only when they go try something different, they actually learn something.
Right. Right.
That is why if you see Microsoft or a lot of these good companies, now they are actually having venture accelerators inside the company,
Got it.
where they are saying that, hey, you have an idea, you'll anyways leave.
Yeah.
Why not just stay with us and build something?
Okay.
We'll give you the support system.
Right.
If that really works, even company will make money from it.
Nice.
Right? So that is where I know, it is not anytime soon a taboo. Even you will be surprised on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
People message me from companies that, I want to work on my idea.
Yeah.
But they'll never comment on my post. Their manager might be reading it.
Yeah. Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And I don't blame them, because end of the day, it's their career. But
I had that fear, by the way.
no, even I had the fear, not just you, right? All of us do, right? So let's be honest about it.
Right.
But all I'm trying to tell them is, don't think that it's a taboo.
Right.
Just say that, hey, I want to go learn how to do this,
Sure.
right? And once you start doing that, you might actually realize that startup is not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Now, even knowing that, the retention is much higher in the company. And one thing, if you understand, is a person who will leave any day.
Correct.
A person who will stay at any cost.
Right.
Now, these are some of the fundamental thinking mistakes, because people are too protective about their things. And instead of growth mindset,
Yeah.
a lot of them have very conservative mindset.
Got it.
Now, how will I change it? I'll change it with a whole community where it becomes very common to try ideas,
Yeah.
who are working in companies and still excelling in companies
Right.
and still working with ideas.
Yeah.
I think that's the next 5 to 10 year generation that's going to come up.
Got it. Thanks, Praveen. Thanks for coming onto the show and sharing your journey, your learnings, and what you're doing.
No, yeah. Thank you so much, Pradeep. And first of all, I think it's a very niche topic. So I'm very glad you've invited me and we have spoken some honest facts.
Yeah.
And I really hope more people actually learn about it. And any of your audience, if they have anything around startups that they want to know, or they want to even work on their idea or learn about these areas,
Right.
they are more than happy. They can reach out to us at Founders First Network, or they can find Praveen Dorna on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They can just drop me a message and I'm happy to help them out.
Great.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for that, Praveen.
Good luck. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this episode till the end. If you like the video, please leave your feedback in the comment section down there and share this episode with your friends and family. See you in the next episode. Thank you.